Deciding to end your breastfeeding journey is so hard, both physically and mentally. In my experience, even about a year into it, a lot of people were pressuring me to stop. I was making them uncomfortable. It was getting weird. But every time I thought about stopping, I would hysterically cry. I wasn't ready to stop, and neither was my daughter. But when you are ready to stop, here are my tips. First, ideally, you would be breastfeeding less and less each day. The last few months I was breastfeeding, I was just breastfeeding at night. I actually didn't even think milk was still coming out, but one time my daughter pulled away and it was just squirting out and I was like, oh wow, I guess it is. The second thing I did was I looked at our schedule and our calendar and I picked a major event as an end date. So we spent the winter in Aruba last year and I said, okay, when we get home and we are back into our regular environment, I'm going to stop cold turkey. Because there was such a change going on, how we were sleeping, the weather, everything was different, I figured that she wouldn't put so much emphasis on wanting the boob. And it worked. There was just so much going on that she wasn't as focused on it. Okay, physically, at the same time I was feeding each night, I would take a shower and get rid of the excess milk in the shower. I wouldn't try to empty each boob, but I definitely had to get some milk out. Thankfully, this only lasted maybe a week or two. Because I had been only breastfeeding one time per day, I think this really helped. I know a few of my friends were breastfeeding a lot more than that, and they really struggled with stopping. They did the cabbage leaves, everything. So dwindling down your feed times, picking an end date that makes sense. Maybe it's a trip, maybe it is the start of summer camp, I'm not sure, but something where it makes sense. Even if you just plan a weekend away where you're in a different environment, that could be a good change. Those are just my tips. I know you are halfway there with deciding yourself that you're ready to be done, because once you're mentally ready, that's when you can take true action. The last thing I'm going to mention is I was mentally not really okay for several months after I stopped. You have to remember that your hormones are going to be all out of whack and it is normal. Just expect some additional emotions. And don't cave if your toddler all of a sudden comes to you like wanting the boob, because since they're older, they very much so know what they're missing.